Hey everybody, welcome back to My Wings of Refuge. So today I wanted to bring you out to what we are calling our food forest that we started on actually this past fall. But in the fall this was still heavily wooded and we were cutting down trees at that time. And so since then, throughout the winter, we actually began to build more of the food forest. And so this is something we've been working on hard and heavy, and it's not perfect. It is a work in progress, and there's never a perfect time to show you. So I'm going to show you and give you this little tour when it is incredibly raw. Are you a visionary? If so, you can see the beautiful fenced-in orchard this is soon to be. If not, it just looks like a mess. So this is kind of our first row here, and technically we have about 3 major rows or areas out here. And so in this first area, it'll be hard to see, but when I do the update as things fill out, get bigger, and everything looks a little bit better out here, it'll be a lot easier to see, and I'll be able to point things out a little bit better for you. But for now, I just want to point out that this area that you see here is lined here in the front with blueberries, mostly with intermingled strawberries and rhubarb. There is a tree in this front section here that I believe is peach tree. We did have a really hard freeze recently, and it took away all the little leaves that was on there, but it's trying already to come back out. And so in the next section there behind it, we've got onions planted, which look fantastic. They're probably 8 inches tall, and some other peach trees. And then down below that we have our apple trees. There's at least 4 different apple trees there, all different varieties, and again, more strawberries. We have several different types of strawberries throughout, and they're all intermingled, so they have plenty of room for their little shoots and can grow and expand. So this is the very back of the middle row, and it sits kind of low, and so it gets a little bit wet. So what we did is we used some of the wood that we had to cut through here to build this pile or hugelkultur. And so what will happen is this wood will eventually break down, and it will fill in this area with a nice, rich, beautiful soil. So in the meantime, we have added some hay, some barn cleanings, and some compost up here on the top. And you might see in the very top right over here, you might see some strawberries are planted, and they're actually blooming. We had huge success with a hugelkultur growing much like this last year that you might remember from one of my videos that we did kind of just a test thing, and we grew beautiful tomatoes and eggplants and watermelons and onions. And so that went so well, we were not at all afraid to build and do a little something on top of this and let nature take its course, let all of those microbes and little creatures grow in there and live in there, while we're still able to make use on top while it breaks down. And what happens is it also, all this wood creates so much moisture too for the plants that are on top, and it allows them to grow and not have to be watered. Okay, so this is from the very back looking toward the front, and this here is the row we just came down, and then this here is our next row. And you'll see some strawberries right out front here. And what we did is there are logs underneath there as well. And then on top of that, we have dirt, which comes from our barn area, which is really rich. And then on top of that is barn cleanings. Now, normally what we will do, or what we'll soon do, everything takes time, and we're still in the process of chipping the limbs and using those wood chips. And we come back and we put wood chips on top of everything. You might remember from the very front corner when we got started, it's already wood chipped in. And so that will hold in all the moisture that we need. It will also add some nitrogen, not overly so. It won't burn up your plants. You may have heard that, but we do everything back to Eden style, and we have never had that problem. But what it does do, it allows you not to have so many weeds. I mean, in my main garden up close to the house, we have no weeds. And I probably spend 30 minutes in an entire summer pulling weeds, and that's how few we have. But also it allows us not to water. It holds in such wonderful moisture that it allows you not to have to water. And back here where we are, there's no way we could water, so that comes in handy. So next you'll see a pile of wood, and we've not really done anything with it yet, but then beyond that we'll move on down and see what's growing green out there. Okay, so first you'll see cardboard down here. We laid down cardboard, a great way to save those Amazon boxes. Tear off the paper tape or the plasticky tape, and then use those boxes to lay down before you start your mulching or even planting. And that takes care of any weeds. Underneath these there are some briars and some little saplings of some very undesirable trees, like those thorn trees that we really don't want growing out here. And so that will help deter those. And then later we'll come in and we will add in some dirt or wood chips and different things over top of that and keep going. I also wanted to point out our little rock pile that you see right here. That rock pile, we're going to add a few more rocks there, but that allows a natural habitat for some of your desirable creatures in the garden, like your little lizards and things like that, maybe even frogs, who will help keep some of the unwanted pests away from your garden. Now here you'll see this green pile. Let's see, right there, this green pile here. That is another hugelkultur, and we had to cut so many trees in this area. It was so heavily wooded, and we used so much of that for firewood, but we also have so much left over. But this whole area just kind of sinks in right here in the middle, and it tends to hold water. And so by laying a lot of these logs through the middle here, we're able to build up this soil so it'll be higher in the middle, and hopefully we won't have any more water issues. And in the meantime, it will create a nice rich soil underneath, and we're able to plant again on top of it. And this one here is primarily clover and maybe some annual rye, maybe. I think it's mostly clover, but it's also, we use some old wool from our sheep from years ago that we still had, and that works as well with the barn cleanings. Okay, so moving on up here a little bit more, we have some peach trees. I don't know if you can see those very well. And also right here below us in this line here, we have a row of blackberries. We don't have to worry about arbors or trellises or anything at this early stage. We will come back and do those when they're ready and needed. Like again, this is in such an early raw stage. Okay, so here we're looking at the front middle section, and you see a lot of things going on here. It looks like a mess, and it is, but it's a mess in progress. So we have these limbs over here that literally came off of these trees that we cut, and we use these limbs, we just haven't gotten to these yet, to put through the wood chipper to turn into this beautiful mulch that I think you can see right down in here in this area where we actually have some more blueberries planted. And you won't be able to see it, but off in the tip corner down here we also have, it's only probably about 18 inches tall, but I was able to get a cutting from one of my favorite peach trees that is in my front orchard in the front of my house, and it turned out beautifully. It's actually leafing out, and so again, a work in progress. We're going to use these little makeshift steps to get across to our third row. So this is the very back corner of what I would call the third row area here, and it's the most undeveloped side. It still has some morning shade, as you can see, which we're not really worried about right now, but as the opportunity arises, it's not too hot, it's not too muddy, we will cut down a few more trees. This area will eventually be in the sun also, full sun. So in the meantime, most of our things are planted in this middle and the far first section there, but we do have a few things planted over here that it won't matter that it gets a little bit of dappled sunlight in the mornings for a little while. Down here right below us where you see the log, that is some raspberries that are planted back here, and I'm going to move forward just a little bit where we're going to have more strawberries and just various things planted throughout. Okay, so moving forward just a little bit, in this row here, we actually planted some very tiny fig trees, and I think there's about 4 of them there. They're very hard to see. As they grow and get a little bit bigger, they'll be much bigger to see, but I have 6 or 8 fig trees in my front orchard of the house now, and they look fantastic, so I'm really excited. We love figs. Just looking this way back toward the middle a little bit, we've got some more raspberries growing over there. If you look toward this mound over here, we've got more blueberries planted, a couple more fruit trees. This area is loaded, but it's also spread out. So this is our area that is still very undeveloped, but we do have a few little things hodgepodged in here. And if you can look toward this little row here of the wood chips that you see close to that stump, we have 2 pawpaw trees planted there. I'm excited to get some pawpaws one day. So we've made it to the front of this third side. Our door, as you see, is over here, and I don't know if you can see right here we have 2 really taller posts from our fence. That will eventually be a huge gate where we can like drive in the 4-wheeler whenever we need to do any kind of major things. And we're going to have another door on the far right over this side that will be wide enough for a wheelbarrow, so we'll be able to get in really from either side. So in this area, even though it's very much undeveloped, we still have a few fruit trees planted. If you can see over in this area, there is some more peach trees, and they're just intermingled. In the very tip top of this green stack over here, on top of the hugelkultur, I believe there's some more berries planted as well. And so just there's more things planted where you see the logs. We try to use some of these logs to hold in the wood chips and to plant things in there so that we can find them and tend to them and work around them. So if you look down the fence row here, you will see that here at the bottom, we have a board on the outside and the inside, and we have fanned out some chicken wire on the ground there to keep digging creatures out. And our fence posts here are 8 feet tall in hopes of keeping deer out. We've not finished the fence on this side. It still lacks the top board. We literally just got our door finished, and so everything I say is such in the early stages, but you can see through here as you look down this fence row at the chicken wire there on the ground. There's a little bit of hay sprinkled on there, and we had planted some grass seed, and grasses are starting to grow. So, are you a visionary? Can you envision that this will one day be a beautiful food forest? If not, it just looks like a big old mess. And right now, it might look like a mess, but it is producing food, and it will produce a few things this year. So I'm really excited about it, and hopefully you'll come along on this journey and watch her grow. So I hope you enjoyed today's video, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't, please subscribe. I know this video is so incredibly raw, but I want to be able to come back and show you updates in the future. So this is what it looks like from the beginning. Have a great week, y'all. Stay safe out there, and may God bless you.